rights activists or observers were allowed to go about their duties. Apart from that, one other thing that was also observed in some parts, particularly at the junction of Block 2, which is called I've forgotten. Okay, Barrier Unit 19. One thing that was observed is the fact that there are some people whose name were found on the register of voters, but their name was not found on the list that was pasted on the wall. And of course, it took the intervention of senior INEC officials that arrived up to resolve the issue, and of course, allow those individuals to vote since their name was found on the register and it correlates with what the information on their voter party. So far, so good. These are some of the observations that have been made in the ongoing process of the election.
Okay, so, did you witness any incidents of vote buying anywhere in any of the places that you went to?
No, there was no case for vote buying witness. I said that was done in some other clandestine way, but there was no witness of money exchanging hands between any voter or any party agent, as the case may be. I think the present policy of the central bank has actually held a coping match. But I can say and confirm to you that in all about 30 places or 30 units are admitted, there is no case of vote buying whatsoever.
And what about the turnout? From what you saw on the field, was it impressive?
The turnout was very impressive, except the fact that I was not particularly impressed with INEC outing at the junction of Gulf. That particular voting unit had over 1,500 voters. As I'm talking to you, I left there about 5 minutes ago. Accreditation and voting was still going on. And I asked questions around. Even though there were other units around that I had less than 700, 600, INEC didn't do well enough to have dominated some of these voters to other lesser populated areas. That unit alone should not be having as much as that we have on the register, well over 1,500, which is not good enough. That is too high a number concentrated in one single polling unit. But if you're talking about the general turnout of voters across the Kino, United GSL, Shobo, and Iwo, I can tell you for a fact that people actually come out in mass to vote in this election.
All right. We'd like to thank you most sincerely. So you say you are going to Iwo now?
Yes.
Okay, so we'd like to get more updates from you when you get there. And so it's almost time, as it's about 10 minutes to the close of time. INEC actually announced that voting will start by 8:30 and end by 2:30. Is there anywhere where you've been to that there seems to be a semblance of activities reducing and maybe people have voted and officials are just waiting for time before they start counting, like we've seen in some other elections?
Hello?
Hello? Mr. Ologun, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, so I'm saying INEC said polling will start by 8:30 and that it will end by 2:30. In some other elections we've had, in some cases, polling will will end early because there are no more voters on the queue. Have you seen anywhere where there's a semblance of that? Maybe people have voted and there are no longer people on the queue and the polling officials are just waiting for 2:30 before they start counting?
Of course, there are a lot of that. AUD primary school are making water. The polling unit of that place has concluded voting over an hour ago.
Wow.
The INEC officials and even polling agents are only sitting around waiting for the time to last before they can start the time sorting and counting of the vote. Also, in some parts of the Sandiaro, the Lower Sandiaro, I can confirm to you around Lawale Kaka that voting has closed. The agents of the different political parties and of course, INEC officials are only waiting for the official time of 2:30 before they can start sorting votes and then be able to announce who wins by unit. So in some of these things I've mentioned, the election is over because there are nobody on the queue and they're only waiting for the official time to close voting and start sorting.
All right. Thank you very much, Comrade Ayo Ologun, for joining us on our Monday 2023 studios here at Wstv and Rave 91.7 FM. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Well, so about some more updates from the fields there, a mixed bag of, if you like the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, yeah, yes, a mixed bag, but not terribly mixed
Not terrible,
bag,
yeah.
such that one will begin to show any apprehension. I think those who have concluded their elections before this now, that's good. And for those polling units where we have over-subscription, in quotes.
Over-subscription.
Yes. In other words, if you have more than 1,500 people in a particular polling booth, that is clearly unwieldy. and it can create a problem with respect to crowd control, especially if your beavers is epileptic and will not work very well. Nonetheless, generally speaking, I'm still giving INEC and Nigerians 80% in this election exercise.
Mr. Babalola.
Well, I want INEC to work again on the total number of people that are supposed to be at the polling unit. I think 1,500 is too much. If you can make it 500 per unit, I think I will appreciate that. Number two, 6 hours is too short for us to have our election in Nigeria. Between 8:30 to 2:30 is too short. Though God created heaven and earth under 6 days. But this is our, I want a situation, we were going to start our vote by 8:30 and end it up by 3:30 or 4:30, so to say, because of unforeseen contingencies, especially the use of technology. Anything can happen.
All right. So we understand we have Samuel Oluwagbeminiyi joining us live on the line. He's a journalist. Thank you so much for joining us, Samuel.
I'm ready for you now.
Hello, Samuel.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Fine. Well, it's time all day.
Okay, so which part of Nigeria are you speaking from this afternoon, Samuel?
Okay, I'm speaking from Lagos. I've encircled Lekki, Admiralty, all the way down to Ikota, down to Aja. Presently, I'm in Aja. And well, the entire process has been going on pretty seamlessly, although initially there were issues with INEC officials arriving very late. Some did not arrive until 10 a.m., some did not arrive until 11. Generally, the complaint is almost the same in most parts of Lagos this afternoon. And I just left Ikota Primary School, where some hoodlums walked in and disrupted the voting process. But the voters stood their ground, protecting their ballot, because they immediately picked their ballot papers and the boxes and locked it up in a classroom and then faced the hoodlums. Majority of the complaints were that around that same place was that the police officers on ground did not respond and did not in any way attempt to even bar the hoodlums from entering the school and from even disrupting the entire process. And so when more reinforcements came in, the people insisted that the police should go back and that they preferred the military. Under 5 minutes of making the calls, the military guys arrived, and the voters insisted that they would rather have the military officers stay with them than have the police officers stay with them. So the men of the rapid response squad had to go back.
Which school? Sorry, Samuel. Sorry for cutting in. Which school was this? Which part of Lagos was this? Ikota
Primary School in Etiota local government.
Okay, so did you witness? I saw some reports. It may be good for you to help us clarify about Ikate, Elegushi, Axis, where there was another issue.
I cannot immediately, because I was not there when the incident at Ikate happened. And in fact, I was on my way to verify when I just got to Ikota, and then we saw the drama playing out in Ikota.
Okay, so but aside the one you were able to verify, the Ikota, and then the alleged one in Ikate, is there any other incident? Any of the places you've been to?
Well, so far there has been no major incident. So far, everything has been slightly peaceful in Lagos. The only issue that has come up repeatedly is insufficient ballot papers. In places like Ikotun, in places like Mushin, where we've also experienced, or where we've seen low turnout, we've seen people say that out of over 300 accredited voters, they only made about 20 or 30 ballot papers available. So the other voters are stranded and wondering what exactly they should do next, either to go home or they should wait for more ballot papers to arrive.
Wow. So, in the places where you said polling did not start until 10 or 11, did the polling officials give any reason as to why they came late? I mean, Lagos is the center
A lot of them have continued to reference logistics issues. Some of them said they didn't get transportation on time. Some said they were trying to sort things out. Earlier, I reached out to the head of voter education and publicity, who is also the spokesperson for INEC in Lagos, Mrs. Adenike Tadeshi, but she declined my calls. I think the one time she picked, the moment she realized I was going to ask that question, she ended the call immediately. So no major reason has been given for the late arrivals. And we've also noticed, because I've been shuttling between the situation room and also the field, and the complaint is the same in places like Nasarawa, Bauchi, the FCT, and also...
So you're beginning to see a pattern, not only in Lagos,
yes,
but in other parts of the country.
It's a pattern. And the other pattern that has come up is it appears that some of these ad hoc officials were not properly trained on the use of beavers machines. Especially in Bauchi, we repeatedly got complaints of people not helping the ad hoc officials to work on that beavers machine before they could get it to work. In fact, somebody just shared something funny in Ikotun, where they said that the beavers was reading that it had accredited over 900 people, and that was just when accreditation was about to start, and so they had to restart the beavers machine for it to kickstart at zero.
Well, interesting. We'd like to thank you most sincerely, Samuel Oluwagbeminiyi. Thank you for the great job you're doing. We appreciate you. Maybe we'll get across to you again to get some more updates from your end.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Samuel Oluwagbeminiyi, I understand it was in transit at some point around, so he's been traversing Ogun and Lagos State. That's why the lower third showed the journalist from Ogun earlier on. But I mean, so some disturbing patterns emerging, Doctor.
As disturbing patterns with respect to logistics.
Yes.
And delay in starting the election. But none of these two problems is illegal. None. The only thing that it can go to the degree of efficiency and effectiveness of INEC, but not to create any illegality with which any party can see any loophole to make any complaints. Because if logistics delay, it affects all the political parties. It does not affect only one political party. The only thing that can happen with respect to logistics problem that may be so negative is if it happens in the stronghold of a political party and it does not happen in the stronghold of another political party. Then the issue can be the political party can raise a valid point of partiality or lack of neutrality. But notwithstanding, as we have heard now, it's like a pattern that cut across the zones. Evidence has been shown, particularly by Oluwagbeminiyi, that it happens in Imo. It has happened in Bauchi, and Kano State. It has happened in Kano and of course in Lagos State. Particularly in areas that have been deeply populated. Of course, you know that Lagos is the vote basket of Nigeria, at 6 million plus voters. Ditto for Bauchi. Bauchi is not a small place at all. We are talking of something in the neighborhood of 2.7 million of collected voters card. I think INEC will learn from that, and in the subsequent elections that we are going to have with respect to governorship and House of Assembly, they should up their ante and move the notches much higher.
Sincerely, I'm on the same page with you, and that is the more reason I screamed. When it comes to the late appearance of the electoral officer, it could be deliberate. The moment an opposition or whoever that is contesting discover that that place is your strength, they may likely use the Nigerian factor to make sure that the electoral officers are not in place at the expected time. This is Nigeria, so we have to factor in our Nigerian factor. Then number two is unfortunate that when you see the police officer, they will tell you we have deployed over 10 million, over a million of officers into this place so as to forestall whatever occurrences. Unfortunately, you will discover today that the police officer being deployed to some areas, not only in Lagos, even in the north, they are as weak as a vegetable. Not until the appearance of the Nigerian army in a certain quarter in Lagos, that is when they are able to stem and to stop whatever violence or whatever that is happening around that area. So to say, I want the police to up to the game. It is not enough for you to deploy larger number of Nigerian police to an area, but equip them with whatever thing they could use to stem or to stop whatever thing that may likely arise in terms of negative activities toward the election.
Okay, so I mean, we get some more updates from the field. The polling units are congested in Ogun State. The Punch is reporting, and we also understand that there's been a development in some thugs attacking some polling units and carting away 5 beavers machines. That's according to INEC. The INEC chairman himself, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, said that while briefing journalists. I guess we'll get a clip of that shortly, and we'll get to listen. And he also gave reasons as to why opening of polls was late in some places. So if we can take the Mahmoud Yakub report now, I think we have the INEC chairman on with us. Let's take a listen to him. INEC chairman giving an update on the election today.
That's why we couldn't open the polling units on time. One, the perennial problem of logistics in spite of our best effort. I think in 2023 we have conquered the challenge of getting election materials to various locations. Yes, there may be complaints here and there, but generally speaking, we have delivered the hundreds of millions of ballot papers and result sheets that we are supposed to deliver for the election. But another contributory factor to the late opening of the polling units is actually the perennial insecurity in the country. For instance, we could deploy early enough to allow in Shiroro local government area of Niger State bandits launched an attack, not necessarily on INEC officials, but in the area. So on the advice of the security agencies, we tarried a while. But I'm happy to say that we were able to deploy to allow, and voting in that location is ongoing as we speak. Similarly, in Oshili local government area of Delta State, thugs attacked a polling unit and 2 beavers machines were lost in the process. But again, determined that election must continue, we were able to replace the stolen beavers machines, reinforce security, and voting continued in that.
All right, so Mahmoud Yakubu, INEC chairman, giving an update on the election, and he listed some of the places where they've had issues. He listed some of the challenges to include logistics and insecurity there. You know, he talked about, Shimili, where thugs, Shimili's in Delta State, where thugs attacked a polling unit and 2 beavers were lost in the process. We said they were able to replace the stolen beavers and restore security and voting continue. They also talked about Safana local government area of Katsina State, where thugs attacked voting locations and snatched 6 beavers machines. He said they were able to use the spare beavers machines and reinforce security for voting to also continue there. He also said the security agencies recovered 3 beavers machines, but 3 are still held by the thugs. And said in these locations, the target of attacks were the beavers machine. He said there seems to be a change. It's no longer the ballot boxes. The beavers machine is now the it's not a target now. So what do you make of the briefing by the INEC chairman?
I like that briefing. I mean, that briefing has actually gone to maybe, suit frayed nerves. Because if you look at the INEC statistics, given by the highest person in that organization,
yes,
you can see that it covers the country. It's not as if it is concentrated in the north, and it is not done in the south. In the south, Delta State is in the south, and Bauchi that he has given also is in the north. So in at least 3 of the instances mentioned, there were replacements with alternative beavers machines. And of course, he does not know to tell us, but we do know that those beaver machines that have been seized by hoodlums would have been deactivated long time. Because seizing beavers machines is of no use to anybody who is seizing it. Because he cannot use it. Where will he use it? That it cannot be picked up. In fact, in terms of security features on each beavers, if you put it in your house, you can be picked up within 24 hours.
That's a tracker.
It's a tracker. So it is of no use to the hoodlum seizing it. And I think the time has come for Nigerians to just begin to accept the electoral verdicts that are done on a free and fair platter. It should not be that the most violent will take it by force. I mean, this is election.
It's not kingdom of
Yes, this is election. This is not about any spiritual or metaphysical warfare. I mean, it's a thing that has to be correlated with popularity and, if you like, acceptability of a particular candidate.
Well, so I mean, aside the issue of logistics and polling being delayed is from starting in some other areas, I think all of the incidents that the INEC chairman talked about, INEC's response was swift. Yes. They were able to mitigate it.
Yes.
Except for Alawa in Niger State, where they said they couldn't deploy enough because bandits launched an attack.
Honestly, and let me say this, I really give kudos to the chairman and all his staffs. Why? There is an alternative. If you do this, then we are going to provide this. I love it so much. It shows that we are moving forward in Nigeria.
Exactly.
But the issue of Niger State and the bandits, there have been serious occurrences of such a thing. Next time now, when we are having March 11, I think more soldiers were to be deployed to that place.
And it is very important to take note that Niger State is one of the biggest states in Nigeria, geographically speaking.
In terms of landmass.
And it is so diverse. And the topography in some places, so it's almost unreachable. So if bandits, and there are pockets of bandits there, in that country, in that part of it,
especially Suleja.
I mean, Niger State is an extremely very extensive state. In terms
some parts are ungoverned territories, actually in the hands of some of the bandits.
Exactly, ungoverned territories, territories where the rules and regulations, including the laws of the Federation of Nigeria, do not apply. I mean, we call those places ungoverned spaces. I mean, it's like real anarchy is set loose.
It's an axis of evil.
Yes, upon those lands. And don't forget, the state is also crisscrossed by part of the distributaries of the River Niger. And because of that, there's a wide expanse of land in Niger State that are actually inland waterways. The one that the hoodlums can use.
The one that I know is very unfortunate is that of Katsina. It's not expected. That is the seat of Mr. President, at least for now. I want to believe that place, they must have put enough security. Looking at what we have been, recording over the years regarding the bandits, to the extent that the farmers were to pay money before they could go to farm. They have to look into this and see what they could do in the next election. All right.
Well, so we're trying to get some of our other partners and reporters on the field to get across to us and give us more updates from their end. But let's see some of the other reports from across the field, aside that Alawa. But I mean, the ungoverned spaces like in Niger State, in Katsina, some parts of Borno, does he have any the potential to affect the outcome of the election?
You see, Borno State will be conducted in IDP camps. And you still have elections. And Nigerians are still ready to risk their lives to go do voting in such places. I think it's salute to the system. Salute not only to the government, but also the can-do spirit of the Nigerian personnel. So see, we are a good people. Generally speaking, Nigerians are a good people. A people that are easily can be ruled. I mean, you don't do that in an Arab land. I mean, you'll be committing suicide if in an Arab place, a place is under siege by, if you like, religious extremists, and you are conducting elections in such places. I mean, that's close to committing suicide. Can anybody try to do that, even in an African country like Libya? I mean, where militants of different kinds of coloration are in charge of the country. Or in Somalia, a country that is completely governmentless. A country without government, can you imagine? So the truth of the matter is that we have done well, and we are still doing well. And I pray that we succeed in doing well with respect to logistics. See, in this election, up to this time T, about 2:30 or before 3 p.m. today, the 25th day of February in the year 2023, I still score INEC and the Nigerian suppressive apparatus and security agents more than 80% of the mark.
80%?
More than 80% of the mark.
I mean, despite the challenges,
logistics, yes. I mean, our cup is actually more than half full. I would describe our cup as more than half full rather than half empty. That's how I describe the Nigerian system.
All right. Okay. Well, let's get some more updates from the field now. Dr. Ayedun joins us live on the line now. Thank you for joining us on our Monday 2023 studios, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Where are you joining us from? Where are you at the moment?
About the northeast.
Okay.
I'm presently at the northeast, Ward 9.
Ward 9. Okay. About the northeast, Ward 9. Can you tell us some of the places you've been to earlier today?
Yes, I've been to Orenegi, I've been to Otiaji, I've been to Alafala area, Orania area, and Orikatuni. And the situation is okay.
Okay, so what's the process been like from the places you've been to? Did pollings open as scheduled? What's the voter turnout like? Did you witness proper functionality of the beavers, or what's the functionality of the beavers from where you are in the security?
Okay, the turnout is but the turnout is okay. And no problem in the marriage. Some of the artists have employed Miami. No, are you with me?
I'm with you, sir.
Yeah. Some of the adult staff abandoned their duty and went away.
Where is that?
That in Megabu Grammar School. Unit 42, Unit 22. They went away, then at Tagugu. Then at Toduloro, the same thing happened. They they are placed there.
But I mean, was any reason given for their abscondment?
They cannot pay.
Did they give any reason for abandoning duty?
Yes, they abandoned the place and went and left the bag. So the INEC came to carry it back to the office and replace them with another.
Okay, so what's the turnout like?
The turnout is a bit clear, not like before. The turnout is low, very low. But everything is not.
And also, the beavers, did it function well in all of the places you went to?
Perfectly well. It's functioning perfectly well.
All right. We'd like to thank you for joining us this afternoon, Dr. Ayedun. We thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, interesting developments in Ibadan. You know, these are places you're familiar with, Mr. Babalola, I'm sure. Agugu, Alagelu, Oluyoro. Yeah, I'm saying some of those places.
These are all Ibadan. And this is where we could find 1 million boys. They call them 1 million boys. They are more than thugs. They are very violent. Even when you look at them, you will see a sort of a negative answer from them. But before I go to that place, when we are talking about Bonu, I think Professor said that majority of the Ifu infested area, they have matched the electorate to another side entirely. So they are not within the confine of where the bandits are. And when you look at Bonu and Yobe, you know it's been ruled by the Kanoris historically. So there is this kind of war between Fulani and the Kanoris. Don't forget that Shetima comes from Bonu. Bonu and Yobe are being ruled, like I said, you hear Ekanemi of Bonu historically. So they do not give way to the Fulani. So they are ready to come out en masse to fall regardless of whatever that happens. That is that. When you talk of Ibadan, Lagelu Grammar School, so to say, Lagelu Grammar School, truly, even in the history, they are very, very tough boys, not to talk of the area. So, but Ward 9, Ibadan North, where there was a very serious incident, I don't know what could have caused that, because a little bit, that is Mokola, is an environment that I think a lot of educated and businessmen people, they are there. So what could have caused that I may not know. But these Odiaje or Remeji and what Oranya, these are highly infested evil areas.
And so, I mean, Doctor, should we commend INEC again for, there was a situation in Agugu, Lagelu, Oluyoro, where polling officials did not come or absconded.
Yes.
They were replaced.
But INEC apprehended the matter.
Yes.
Immediately replaced them, and then voting continued. Yes, low turnout. Again, that is not illegal. I mean, there is no law in Nigeria that makes voting compulsory. No, there's no law. It's not a compulsory thing.
It's just a moral board.
Of course, you are only enjoying to do. It's not like taxation. Voting is only advisory. Advisory is that you participate in it. And until we make voting illegal, at least, no turnout cannot be a thing that is illegal.
I mean, so what you're saying here now, Doctor, should we not make voting compulsory?
No, we shouldn't. It's like forcing a person to eat balanced diet. I mean, you have a right to not to eat balanced diet, to die the way you want to die.
And you face the consequences on
it's
your
part of your democratic right to live in a shabby manner or to live right. It is not within the purview of the state to dictate it. I mean, in places where it is compulsory, go and check out. They have a socialist background. Brazil, Chile, Costa Rica, Trinidad and Tobago. They had a socialist background. Yes, I agree in some advanced countries, even in North Korea. Will you say that in truth and indeed that North Korea is a democratic country? No. We call them illiberal democracy, even though they say that they are democratic. But that is an illiberal democracy, not a liberal democracy. So we cannot make voting, because it will be a direct affront on the fundamental rights of Nigerians to choose to associate or not. For example, the Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe in all these processes.
Yes,
and they have their fundamental right. They don't even sing the national anthem. Because in Nigeria, it is not illegal to refuse to sing the national anthem. It's not illegal. It's only advisory. I mean, so the truth of the matter is that low turnout, yes, it's unfortunate, because we are not expecting, Africa's truly indigenous city, Ibadan, to be having low turnout. It is the political capital of the Southwest.
Yes.
It has been performing that role since 1827, when Ibadan was established.
All right, so I understand that we have another of our partners with us on the line via Zoom, Anthony Adejuwon.
I'm presently at Ward 6 unit as made public by the presiding officer. And what was said to have, somebody said that 67.7% of the registered voters came out to vote and presented and now. Earlier today in the morning, I was at some polling units in Odwort, in local government, and like it's been reported on this channel that vote buying was prevalent. It's also true in some polling units in Odwort to be a specially designed invoice or receipt. It's just a specially designed for this act, and it's been exchanged after voters, casted their votes for their political parties. And I'm so sure that after receiving that, which will connect one. And let me also say that in one of the polling units in Ward 4, Unit 6, ICPC officials were said to have picked up a party agent who was writing of.
So I'm sorry. I mean, we may need to. The audio is a bit poor. Perhaps we get to, work on it to get it better so that we can hear you even much better. Or maybe we use our telephone, whichever one. I'm sure there'll be some efforts at that in the background. But from what we heard of him, what do you make of his report?
Some of the political parties and the agents have devised some other ingenious way,
as expected,
of vote merchandising. But don't forget, as we have established since we started, that vote buying is a cooperative effort between the buyer and the seller. If a group of people have decided to sell their votes, I mean, you cannot blame the buyer more than the seller in that illegal association. What you do is that you probably most likely will remind the buyer and the seller that they cannot be held to complain after the buying and the selling, if the government that they have used that corrupt and illegal means to choose refuses to serve them. The truth of the matter is that the comeuppance, the consequence of vote merchandising is so fundamental on good governance and the idea of delivering of progressive issues that a group of people have decided to sell and buy their votes have done themselves incalculable damage. And that damage is not only in terms of physical development, but also in terms of conscience.
Wow.
I think the area which I think I like so much is the issue of ICPC. They have been able to disappoint those who have been talking negatively about them. Especially, they said they do not have enough personnel that can go around the country. So if they could come to Odo thing, where they were able to apprehend those who are selling the vote, I think I want to clap for them, and I want them to intensify more effort in the subsequent election.
Well, okay. So, I mean, let's see if we get more reports from our guys on the field. Okay, Tony Juwon is also giving us some updates. It's this with vote counting in that particular vote. So it's well past the time. It's just some few minutes to 3 now. So many of the places voting has ended, and vote counting is underway from what you can see there. Is Anthony back with us online? We can talk to him again. Anthony Adejuwon, the Executive Director of Impact Development of Urban Alert, beg your pardon. Okay, Anthony, the line is clear to talk to you now. Hello, Anthony. Okay, so the line's still not good, but you can get visuals of what's happening at that polling unit. I hope you can get the name again, where voting has ended and counting is underway. We believe that this is pretty much what is happening in other parts of the country, except for where voting started late. In areas in Anambra, in Lagos, where we got reports that voting started late because of logistic problems. We'll be getting you some more reports, also from the field, so that we can feed you with that on our Mandate 2023 studios right here, but INEC's response seems to be top notch.
Yes.
Whatever challenge is coming up, there's been some contingency plans to contain or mitigate it. But then maybe by the time we have a full picture, we see how well that strategy is built. Because in fairness, INEC does not control some of the variables of this election. Logistics needs to be outsourced.
Of course.
To URTW, that consists of a partisanship and security. There was a time in this country where INEC had to postpone an election because the security agencies were not willing to play ball. And that was an Edo election in a year like that.
Yes, and even then, the issue of security, even the Nigerian state has agreed that it has inadequate resources to police and to secure the Nigerian state, particularly in the coastal areas. I mean, who is going to monitor, for example, election that will be had in Kirizion, in Eseodo, in the larger Eseodo area of Ondo State? Who is policing it? In a place where all the inhabitants of the town, their houses are on water. The only way you can get to that place is if you travel by boat.
Yes.
I mean, who will be that policeman that will be policing the waterways and know where woodlums are and where the woodlums are not? So, and the Nigerian government too has entered into security agreement, signed, sealed, and delivered with a private person, government Ekpemukolo, to guarantee security along the Nigerian coastal belt, particularly with respect to.
And if actually the next government can work on that, it will really help us. Because how are you going to fight thug and then these bandits in an unusual terrain that you are not familiar with? But for those who are there, if they allow the state policing, I think it's going to help us in any election that we are to have in future.
And then from the INEC chairman's briefing, he said something instructive about the fact that there's been a shift in violence around election day. Before now, the Morisi years, the 1990 to 2007 or thereabout, or 2011, the attack was always on the ballot box.
Yes.
Now it's on the Beavers machine.
Yes, exactly.
There's a shift.
Yes. And it is on the Beavers machine in quote, isolated places. Because people have seen the futility of going to physically attack INEC officials and seizing the machines they are using. Because if you want to use it in terms of voter suppression, so voter suppression, all of us are in it. We must make sure Nigerians must participate in their own governance. You had a reporter, one of your correspondents, who reported that in Kota area, people insisted that no amount of hoodlums will prevent them from voting. They got the material, locked it up in a classroom, and then faced the hoodlums. I mean, it's citizen action. We call it the office of the citizen.
Yes.
A citizen to have the right, they have a constitutional right to arrest hoodlums. Citizens can join hands to arrest people and then hand them over to law enforcement agents. And in Nigeria, of course, it is not only the police that is securing the Nigerian state. We have the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. In fact, we have what do you call it? Even quarantine is like kind of a police. Immigration is a kind of police. Customs is a kind of police, and they could be borrowed. They could be borrowed by INEC during election to secure. These are security apparatuses that hold the gun and have suppressive apparatus and instruments to ensure that there is compliance with the rules and regulations of Nigeria. So it's as simple as, I think, the issue of security. Let citizens to up the ante and police their own polling units and insist that hoodlums will not have a free day. That way, we will be doing active citizenship.
I think that is a mantra that when it comes to security, it is everybody's affair.
I agree.
And truly, from what we can see now, even the citizens, the electorate, they are protecting themselves. So to say, I want to believe that all the security apparatuses, they are working together, including the custom officials, especially in this election. Thank God for the chairman. Alternatives have been provided. They are foreseeing that there might likely be this and that, and they have arrested the situation. Kudos to them.
All right. Well, so let's take one report from one of our correspondents on the field, Olayinka Ali. I'll be giving us some update on what's happening on the field.
We're live now at AED Primary School, Araromi, Iwo, Ward 10, Unit 7 and 8. Unit 7 is just behind me while Unit 8 is over there. At Unit 7, a lot of people have cast their vote. We were made to understand that a lot of people have come out and cast their vote. They are still waiting for others to come and perform their civic responsibility. While at Unit 8 over there, I can see a lot of people still on the queue waiting to exercise their civic responsibility. I'm only seeing just one security operative, there, but the atmosphere here has really been calm. Subsequently, I'll be bringing you reports of happenings in Iwo, as at now everywhere is calm and the situation here is so peaceful. My name is Olayinka Ali.
All right, thank you very much, Inka. So that's from Ire. Ire is in Boricua local government. Ire, is that Iwo or Ire?
Is it from Iwo?
Iwo, beg your pardon. So I mean, Iwo Ward 10. Sorry for the mix-up there. Peaceful also. One of the areas where we had concerns about in Osun, because the senatorial candidate for the APC for Osun West is from Iwo. So there are concerns. There's been some skirmishes between himself and out of the PDP. There was a particular clash around the campaign period in Ikiri.
You know why we have peace at Iwo? Yeah. The PDP candidate for the House of Representatives is from that place. And when you look at, they call themselves Aiwola, that is Ayedire, Iwo and another local government. They know each other. They can fish out anybody who wants to or who desire to cause trouble. Even before now, they used to have this town hall meeting. And let me use the word of Aketola. It won't you police officer. They believe in going to their palace and settle whatever differences that must have emanated from them. So to say, when you look at Aiwola generally, I know they are going to record a very peaceful atmosphere, especially today when they are looking for an opportunity.
And we must take cognizance of the role of the very quiet contributors to national peace, the traditional institution.
Yes.
The traditional institution. See, in some places in Nigeria, people trust their traditional ruler than they trust their governor. They obey him, they follow him, whoever that person may be. His age is not important. What is important is what he represents.
Yeah.
Nigerians have this tendency in the north and in the southwest, this tendency to flow with the traditional institution because they believe that come what may, the traditional institution will defend their interests. I think we should give kudos to them.
Yes. All right. So, well, as much as we're talking about good voter turnout, good voter turnout in some places. We've also seen voter apathy in some other places, especially from the Nigerian middle class, and especially in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. I remember there was a local government election, and INEC expressed concern about the fact that in some polling units in Abuja, there were no voter at all. Officials stayed from morning till the close of poll, and nobody showed up. And so reports are coming in again now that it's happening again. In a particular polling unit, I'll get that, in Abuja, only 5 residents voted. So load it is in Apo, and the polling unit is about 220.
That is in
Doctor,
the municipal
is in
area.
Bloom's Vine Estate, and it's squatting directly opposite the popular Apo Mechanic Village.
You see, so it is where you have the Europeans.
I like that.
Yeah, the young urban people in elections, and it is not good enough. It's not good enough.
I think when we talk of Apofila, that is the seat of these honorables. I think that's where they are.
And Akpo Kodasami, but this is actually opposite Akpo Mechanic Village.
Mechanic Village. Okay. You see, it's unfortunate that we have this kind of turnout. But permit me, majority of those that are living there, they are not from that area. These are the people that come from this area, maybe for economic activities. And don't forget that majority of them may not even have their PVC at that time. So some of them will come back home to come and cast their vote. But that does not mean that the indigenous people that are there should not be able to come out and cast their vote.
All right, so in some other parts of Abuja, suspected thugs have snatched the ballot boxes at the Giri polling unit, that's in Gwagwalada, a few hours before the voting deadline. An eyewitness simply identified as Cecilia said thugs, about 5 in number, were unarmed, but they came wielding sticks and knives. And he said the attack was after a good number of persons in the area had voted. So they used sticks to hit the ballot boxes and they left. He said the thugs could carry out the attack because no security official was attached to the area. So unfortunately, no security attached. And then you talked about citizens also owning the process. We saw it in situation in Ikoto where citizens chased away the hoodlums. Here,
stood their ground.
Because these ones came with no arms. They could have been arrested as well.
But it's neither here nor there. See, 177,000 polling booths. You want 177,000 policemen? You can't get that, because who will secure the roads? Who will secure the INEC coalition centers? Who will secure the INEC set? Who will secure the borders? The total number of police we have as the last statistics was 320,000 people. 320,000 policemen in Nigeria, including their officers, to police an area that is 4 times Great Britain. 927,000 square kilometers. That's grossly inadequate.
All right. So,
and you are taking 20,000.
Doctor, sorry, hold on. We have another report coming.
Has just cast his vote. The voters complained about the slow process. For example, in this polling unit where I'm standing, it was a single polling unit before, but because of the number of registered voters, they had to split it, and that's why the governor even moved his polling, the former governor, I beg your pardon, moved his polling unit from here to the second polling unit. So the process, according to the voters, said is slow because in this polling unit, there's only one Beavers machine, and it led to a bit of squabble earlier on. People were complaining about the time, most especially waiting under the sun. So the elderly people were complaining, but the INEC officials, they assured them that they will see what they can do to fast track the process and make sure that everyone on the queue, cast his or her vote before they leave. And true to their words, as I speak, like I also reported earlier, the last person on the queue has cast his vote, and poll is gradually winding down, though poll will close officially at 4:30, but everyone is here patiently waiting for when sorting and counting will begin. Security officials are also with the INEC officials seated, monitoring the situation on ground. So to a large extent, in Iragbidi, voting has gone peacefully, without any form of negative reports. Everyone has done their bit. They've come out in their very good numbers. We've seen elderly women. More importantly, here in Iragbidi, I've seen some couple of persons with disability, I must also say. come out to cast their vote here in Iragbiji. So we are here, would visit some other polling units and again look at some adjoining areas in Kiru as we go along to see how polls are also winding down in some of these other areas.
All right, thank you very much. Biodun, did you notice any incidents of vote buying anywhere in Iragbiji?
Not really. We didn't see any, but we could only, where we were parked, we had some bit of delay. So where we were parked, we only heard voices of people saying they've not seen alert, they've not gotten alert, and they tried to move close to inquire what alert were they waiting for, or who is sending them the alert. And they told us their response was, all they know is they've not seen alert. That's
Interesting.
Hello?
So I mean, vote buying has gone cashless as well.
Yeah, apparently it seems so, because we heard about 4 women just chanting, "We've not seen alert, arterial alert, arterial alert." You know, so but we tried to inquire, tried to ask questions, but they were not talking. They just told us what they know is they've not seen alert.
All right. Thank you very much, Biodun. Thank you for joining us. All right, thank you. Well, so interesting developments from Iragbiji, the hometown of the former governor there.
Let me just comment on these 177 police, I think the polling unit. We are not, I don't think we are expecting the police officers to be in all the polling unit. The civil defense, the customs, and then the immigration officers, all of them could be there at the same time. I mean, making sure that there is enough security in all the police, in all the polling units. Then number 2, I think the level of education, our people are not being adequately informed as far as political education is concerned. Anybody snatching ballot boxes now, you are only wasting your time. You are dissipating your energy on something that is very, very. And thank God from what we have heard from Iragbiji now, that the negative catalyst in any in this kind of election or in this kind of event has been destroyed. You know, I'm not all that good when it comes to ICT, but I know that people can give you fake alert. How are you going to know whether the alert is true or not? So to some extent, they are being deceived.
After you have performed the duties.
Yeah, exactly. They are being deceived. They are being hoodwinked to vote first. Then they will give you fake alert.
Doctor, I mean, so from Iragbiji, the report there.
Yes, of course, in that report, we must also put a caveat that it was actually not as telling you that vote buying and merchandising